Welcome back. This is Chicken Philosophy, the Nag Hammadi Scriptures, Part 12, in which I will pick up right where Gwydion left off in Part 11. Hope everybody's doing well. Before we jump into this, though, there's a few things I gotta take care of. First, the beverage. Gonna be a little different. Very different, actually. Captain, would you tell him?
Tea Earl Grey hot.
That's right. As the good Captain Jean-Luc Picard put it. It is still pretty hot. Can you see the steam? Probably not. That is some Earl Grey, and I left that bag in for way too long. So that's going to be the beverage experience. And the incense is this this is what it says. Non-drilling Niamdel. Now you know. I don't. It's Tibetan like temple incense. Oh, and it's nice. It's very nice. So we've got some too strong Earl Grey, no sugar. Pretty warm. It was hot when I started getting ready to film, but now it's just pretty warm. Okay. The incense is done. The beverage is done. Now we read one paragraph from Living Gnosis. By the way, if this is your first time and you would like to start with the episode where we begin reading this one paragraph at a time, starting, at the beginning, skipping the introduction, then check out Part 11. If you want to start at the beginning of the Nag Hammadi Scriptures, then check out Part 1. Here's the playlist. Bye. Anybody who's leaving, wish you well. All right. Silly towel thing. All right, so here we go. The paragraph after the one we read last time goes like this. The term, quote, Gnosticism, end quote, has become a title used for a plethora.
Would you say I have a plethora of piñatas?
Oh, yes. You have a plethora.
Jefe, what is a plethora?
Why, guapo?
Well, you told me I have a plethora. And I just would like to know if you know what a plethora is. I would not like to think that a person would tell someone he has a plethora and find out that that person has no idea what it means to have a plethora.
Forgive me, guapo. I know that I, Jefe, do not have your superior intellect and education. But could it be that once again you are angry at something else and are looking to take it out on me?
He raises a good point. I think he was taking it out on them. Anyway, plethora. It's the three amigos. If you wonder why, the older folks here giggling whenever the term plethora comes up. The term Gnosticism has become a title used for a plethora of spiritual and mystical currents within and around Christianity. During its critical formation in the first few centuries following the death and resurrection of Jesus, currents that include pagan forms of Gnosticism, Jewish and Christian Gnosticism, and what some have argued include even Buddhist and Hindu influences from the East. In the way this term has come to be used, it includes a vast spectrum It's not very vast, the one above my head. But the one he's talking about is vast. He or she, it. However they identify. Where were we? Predates Jesus. In this way, the term has come to be used. It includes a vast spectrum of spiritual and mystical traditions, some of which predate the Jesus movement. Others which occur simultaneous with it. The Brian movement. Right? As well as many that were directly part of the original Jesus movement. If there is one thing all of these various spiritual and mystical traditions have in common, it is this. Salvation or enlightenment is the result of a direct and personal spiritual or mystical experience. Hence, gnosis. That's a Greek word which means knowledge, but not like knowledge like data, processed data that you hold in your memory, but like knowledge of God as in direct experience, not like I've read about God, I know all the scriptures. Like the opposite of that. Okay, that was the paragraph that we read from this book in the intro to picking up where we left off last time in the trifunctate, the tricholotomy, the trickle all over me. No, what's it called? The tripartite tractate. We read the Father and the generation of the Son last time. Now we're going to pick up where we left off at the pre-existent church. All right, Editor Edward, if you would please change the music. That'll give me an excuse to cheers. Take a sip of Earl Grey. Hot. Oh, I was going to show you. I brought one in just in case you didn't believe me. But this packet is unopened. But the packet that was in it... never mind. Stop showing you my tea bag. I gotta clean that later. It dripped a lot. Here we go. Moreover, he has his fruit, though it remained unknown because of his overwhelming greatness. And he wished to make it known because of his abundant sweetness. He revealed his inscrutable power, and he mixed it with the plentiful abundance of his generosity. For not only the Son, but also the church exists. From the beginning. I think he's talking about a different church. When they say the church these days, I don't think they're talking about the same thing that he's talking about. Yeah. All right. Very rare cases with a lot of like asterisks and footnotes. If you're talking about what he's talking about in present day, using the phrase the church. You'd have to have some modifiers. Okay, sorry. If somebody now thinks that this statement is contradicted by the fact that the Son is an only Son, that is not so, because of the mystery of the matter. For just as the Father is singular, and was shown to be his own Father. Have you read Rant by Chuck Palahniuk? He's his own father, and grandfather, and great-grandfather. Let's just say he has a type. Anyway, what the Father, his own Father, and also the Son may be found to be his own brother. Okay. Interesting. Without generation and without beginning. It is himself that the Father admires, bracket parentheses as, end parentheses father, and two bracket parentheses whom, end bracket parentheses he gives, bracket glory, end bracket parentheses. Praise, and bracket parentheses love, end bracket parentheses. Oh. If you're looking for a band name, bracket parentheses love, spelled out, bracket, here, editor, thank you. You can have that. First come, first serve, band name. Bracket parentheses love. Where were we? I don't know. Oh yeah, up here somewhere. And it is equally himself that he conceives of, as a son conceives of, or conceives, through the Holy Spirit, obviously. Gabriel helped. Don't think about it too much. Where were we? In accordance with the qualities, quote, without... in accordance with the qualities, quote, without beginning, end quote, and, quote, without end, end quote. This is how the matter is, being firmly established. His offspring, the ones who are without number and limit, and at the same time indivisible. They have issued from him, the Son and the Father, in the same way as kisses. When two people abundantly embrace one another in a good and insatiable thought, it is a single embrace, but consists of many kisses. This is the church that consists of many people and exists before the aeons and is justly called, quote, the aeons of the aeons, end quote. King of Kings, Aeon of Aeons. Just take a thing and then say of the, and then plural of that thing. I can't think of anything. Just not a single thing. This is the nature of these holy imperishable spirits upon which the Son rests, since it is his essence, just as the Father rests upon the Son. The church exists in the properties and qualities in which the Father and the Son exist, and which I have described earlier. Thus it consists of innumerable births of aeons, and these in turn give birth in infinite number through the qualities and properties in which they, bracket parentheses, exist, end bracket parentheses. These, bracket parentheses, are a, end bracket parentheses, community, bracket parentheses, formed, end bracket parentheses, with one another, and bracket parentheses, with the ones, end bracket parentheses, who have gone forth from, bracket parentheses, them, and, end bracket parentheses, with the Son, because of whom they exist as glory. For this reason, no mind can conceive of less than them, greater than the, using those pointy things. I don't know what that's called when you use that as parentheses. I think that's their version of bold. Conceive of them. Right. For this reason, no mind can conceive of them. Such is the perfection of that place, nor can words speak of them. For they are ineffable, unnameable, and inconceivable. Only they are able to name themselves in order to conceive of themselves. For they are not rooted here below. Those who belong to that place are ineffable and innumerable in accordance with the special structure that this is. That's some good moldy bread that these guys, allegedly munching on. And this is the form and the manner, and this is the kind, the joy, and the delight of the nameless, unnameable, inconceivable, invisible, and ungraspable, unborn one. I think they were onto something when they made these negative veils of negative existence. In particular, this one, it matches all the necessary qualifications, except for existence. All right, what? Yes, I don't know. It is the fullness of his fatherhood whereby his abundance becomes procreation. I mean, it's kind of the same question, whether you ask, how is it that Ein, no thing, becomes Ein Sof? Like you can kind of groove with it, but it doesn't really make sense. And then Ein Sof Or makes even less sense. And then Zim Zum and the creation of the tree of life and all that makes a little more sense intuitively. I don't know why. But the point is, that's the same question as how did the Big Bang? And not being one of those guys, I'm just saying it's a similar question. The nature of the question is almost identical. You know what I mean? All right. For this reason, no mind. I already read that. Okay. This next section is called the all before it was brought forth. All right, so we're talking about the epididymis, not the epidermis. That just means skin. We're talking about something else. The all before it was brought forth. ... of the aeons existed eternally in the Father's thought, and he was like a thought and a place for them. And once it was decided that they should be born, he who possesses all power desired to take and bring what was incomplete out of ... Remember, these are like parchment that were in a cave for like 2,000 years. So sometimes there's a ... where everybody's looking at each other like, anybody have any ideas about what goes in this hole? And they're like, I don't know, man. So anyway, it's unfortunate. Irenaeus, Athanasius, you guys and your censorship. Anyway, sorry. What did we? Where were we? Who are we? What's going on? Yeah, those who bracket parentheses were within end bracket parentheses him. But he is bracket parentheses as end bracket parentheses he is. Bracket parentheses for he is end bracket parentheses a spring that is not diminished by the water flowing from it. As long as they remained in the Father's thought, that is, while they were in the hidden depth, the depth himself, with a capital D, certainly knew them, but they, on their part, were incapable of knowing the depth in which they found themselves, nor could they know themselves or anything else In other words, they existed with the Father, but did not exist for themselves. Rather, the kind of existence they had was like that of a seed, or it may be compared with that of an embryo. He had made them in the manner of the Word, which exists in a seminal state before the things it will bring forth have yet come into being. Okay. Next section is called The Father's Plan. Well, if that doesn't count as an excuse for me to take a sip of Earl Grey, I don't know what does. Because we're about to find out. I mean, the Father in this context is God, right? Everybody's always wondered what his plan is. You and I we're about to find out. Isn't that dandy? Editor Edward, would you put on something dramatic? And we're going to find out together the Father's plan. For that reason, the Father had also thought in advance that they should exist not only for himself, but should exist for themselves as well, that they should remain, in bracket parentheses his and bracket parentheses thought, as mental substance, but also exist for themselves. He sowed a thought as a seed of in order that bracket parentheses they might end bracket parentheses understand bracket parentheses what kind of father end parentheses they have. Alright. He showed grace and bracket parentheses provided the end bracket parentheses first form. The first bracket parentheses, if you will. No. That they might bracket parentheses perceive and bracket parentheses whom bracket parentheses they have and bracket parentheses for a father. The name of the Father he granted them by means of a voice calling out to them that he who is by that name, and possessing it, one comes into being. Father Yod. Oh, man. Whew. When Moses and the boys were like, hey, we want to hear the voice of God. And he was like, no, you don't. And they were like, yes, we do. We insist. And he was like, okay. And then now you know what they experienced. Thank you, Father Yod. Okay, where were we? How exalted the name was, however, they did not realize. For as long as the infant is in the state of an embryo, it has what it needs without ever having seen the one who sowed it. For that reason, they had this only as an object to be sought after. They understood that he existed, and they desired to find out who the existing one might be. But the Father is good and perfect, and just as he did not close himself to them so that they should remain forever in his thought, with a capital T, but granted that they should come into being for themselves also. In the same way, he would gracefully allow them to understand the one who is. Who the one who is, Mr. President.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes.
I mean, obviously not the current president, but when someone's been a president, then you call him Mr. President. Yeah. Bill Clinton in this case. the one who is. It depends on what your definition. Sorry, what is for the infant? Okay. That is the one who knows himself eternally. In the biblical sense, 3 dots. Receive form in order, bracket parentheses, to know, and bracket parentheses, who the one who is. In the same way as when one is brought forth here below, when one is born, one finds oneself in the light and is able to see one's parents. All right. Should I read one more? Yeah, I'll read one more. The all is not made perfect from the beginning. That's the title of this one. All right. We will see. For the Father produced the all like a little child, like a drop from a spring, like a blossom from a bracket parentheses vine, and bracket parentheses, like a dot, 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 like a shoot, dot, 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 so that they needed bracket parentheses nourishment and bracket parentheses growth and perfection. He withheld the perfection for a time, having kept it in his mind from the beginning. He possesses it from the beginning and looks at it, but he concealed those emphasized ones, it for those who had come forth from him. This was not out of jealousy, but it was in order that the aeons should not receive their perfection from the beginning, and thereby exalt themselves in glory as equal to the Father, and think that they had achieved this perfection out of themselves, but just as they came into existence because it pleased him, so also it was because it pleased him that he benevolently granted them a perfect thought that would make them faultless. All right, it was fun and interesting and, not your usual Abrahamic flow, and yet it was. I like to find a place for everything to fit in the grand scheme of what I would consider good metaphors for what is, I guess. And sometimes it's challenging because you can groove with, like, when the Sufis are talking about the Abrahamic God, usually they're talking on the same level that, like, someone on acid is talking. And if you squint and kind of ignore every other word, then you can do that with Christianity too. And more so with some of the heretical texts than with the canonized texts. It depends. It varies from book to book, chapter to chapter of the book. What am I talking about? I'm saying that, sometimes it's tricky. Sometimes it's it's more of a challenge for me personally to fit when they start emphasizing, but you're just a little piece of shit and he's daddy, it's like, that's a metaphor that could apply if, it must, is kind of as far as I'm able to really honestly go with it. But, it's a twisted world. I'm sure everybody has their feelings on it. I have, maybe different feelings on it today than when I was wearing that other outfit yesterday or being called. You might have a different take on things. Because we're a little crazy, you might say. It's PC when you're talking about yourself. All All right. So, or maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's an insult to people who are really crazy. Well, anyway, I don't know. I don't mean any offense to anyone. I guess that was the Nag Hammadi. I think we did it. I think we nailed it. Well, it was all right. It depends. It depends on the music, I think. We got it done. We read what we needed to read. We lit some stuff. We drank some stuff. So, yeah, I guess that's it. I guess next time Gwydion will read Martin Luther, that wacky carrot and Coca-Cola combination. Those who don't know. Those who don't, check this out. This is post-chicken cluck, Edward, wanting to make sure that there's enough time in between when I pointed up there and the end screen. So I wanted to show you this. In fact, should we do that for an end screen? Yeah, why not?